I've got a couple before then. Oh, looks like we're ready to go. I think this is everybody we were expecting this morning. And good morning. Welcome to Marino Physiotherapy. My name is Elena Marino. We have Danny Winningham who will be joining us as well. Today we are going to be talking about living with Parkinson's. And a lot of people think this is just, okay, getting by with Parkinson's. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about living your life and living it well. I want you to start thinking about what are the things that you're worried about how Parkinson's may affect your life. That's what we're going to be talking about here. We're not going to be spending our time talking about, oh, this medication or that deep brain stimulation. We're going to be talking about functional strategies you can do in your day-to-day activities and how you can start to make changes to the symptoms of Parkinson's instead of just accepting them. All right. So for those of you who are seeing us for Zoom, we have a couple people who are worried about germs and that weren't feeling well. So we asked that they please just join us on a Zoom session and that we're going to be recording today so that if you have questions later, hopefully the recording comes out okay and we can share it with you later. If not, we will probably be doing the same workshop again, either in November or next spring. So we'll be happy to get that information out there. Our mission is to educate and elevate Knoxville. So if you know people that would benefit from the information we're providing, or if you would like us to come to your group and provide the information more on a one-on-one basis, we do that all over town. We'll even come visit Oak Ridge. All right, so first I want to introduce Danny. If you turn around and wave, hi, Danny. So I will tell you, I managed to snag Danny out of his comfort zone. Danny actually worked for Marino Therapy Center, goodness, way back in the day, before I worked for Marino Therapy Centers. And the reason that I was so anxious to get Danny on board is because not only does he have a doctorate in physical therapy, not only does he have 15 years of experience working with some phenomenal clinicians, and that he teaches new therapists. He's got some great credentials, but the one I get really excited about is this one right here. Certified Manual Physical Therapist with the North American Institute of Orthopedic Manual Therapy. How many of you have ever taken a test? Okay. How many of you have ever stood in front of a panel of 6 experts who just drilled you with questions and questions and questions and went through this process for about 3 to 4 hours? And then they gave you a patient, said, fix this in front of us and explain everything and asking you questions and asking you questions. That is a 3-year process just to even get ready for the test, as far as courses, credentials. So when I say that we have the best therapists in town, we don't pick the people who got a degree and said, I'm a PT, I'm good with that. We work with people who've gone on to do advanced credentials, certifications, board specializations, and fellowships. And for that reason, we're able to stand on the premise of us providing the highest caliber of clinicians in the region. My name is, again, I'm Elena. This is my dog, Murphy. I'm not sure why he's sticking his tongue out there, but we have a little fun with it. You may notice I have a few letters after my name. I'm almost done with my 2nd doctorate. It's an advanced clinical PhD. I've been working in physical therapy since 2005. And I've got 4 manual therapy certifications. I've gone on after my master's to basically travel around to find the best clinicians I can to learn from, which enables us to bring some of the great skills you can get from out in Colorado, Virginia, Australia, Canada, that we can bring those skills right here locally in East Tennessee. And everyone gets excited about me being a board certified orthopedic specialist. But all of these, I think that was the easiest one I did. All right. Really, when people ask me what I do for a living, I tell them I'm a body mechanic. Not the kind you can drop off your shoulder on Thursday and pick it up next Tuesday, but that's what we do. We look at bodies and how they move. How many of you have ever been to the doctor and said, oh, I have this, it hurts in my neck and my shoulder, and they say, oh, you can only pick one body part. What are we looking at today? Well, the reality is you're one whole human, and you have to look how all of you works together. And this has more to do with just Parkinson's, has to do with how the whole body works together. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go along. All right, I copied that slide from the rotator cuff one. So Danny and I, the company we were working with before, I'll take care of it. The company we were working with before actually put a lot of us through some advanced training called LSVT Big Program. And it really opened some doors for us to be able to, one, we work in a very large space, so we can work on things one-on-one with people where we're doing these large movements without bumping into each other. It gives us some options there. So when people ask, how did you get into this? Well, Parkinson's is not a single, here's one little problem type of issue. It's a more complicated condition. It involves multiple body systems, multiple facets of your life. And Danny and I specialize in treating the hard stuff. So that's how we ended up getting more into adding Parkinson's into our toolbox, because it's not just one size fits all. Do any of you in here, are you twins? I've only had that happen once in the last 2 years of workshops where there was a twin in here. But people don't come out like cookie cutter people. We're not gingerbread men with the exact same shape, the exact same problems, the exact same history, the same genetics, the same anything. So I want you to think about that. There is no one size fits all. And we're going to talk about a program that does have a pretty standardized function to it, but how you have to customize it to each individual person. So what I'd like to know next is a little bit about you. We like to customize all of our workshops to make sure we're including the things that matter to you. So if you would, give me your name and how do you think Parkinson's may affect your quality of life moving forward, whether it's for you or a loved one, or if you don't know that it's going to affect you moving forward, that's okay too. But I'd just like to get to know who's here. Would you like to start?
Charlie Roman.
Hi, Charlie.
Impacts motion. Impacts my golf game.
That's important. Hey, amen. Ask Danny about that one. Danny's our resident golf enthusiast. How about you, Joan?
Well, I think it also affects how you walk, how you talk, just motion in general.
Okay. Next.
Joanne?
Hi, Joanne.
Well, I'm newly diagnosed, but I sure have.
With an E or not?
Well, it's 2 words actually. If you want to.
I'm
capital A and N.
I should remember this.
No E. No, it's just too hard. Newly diagnosed, but I've had symptoms, I guess, for a while. I've read a lot. I'm doing exercises and all that, but the cognitive is, of course, but it's what worries me, the cognitive decline at some point, and how that will affect me and my husband.
Okay.
I'm here to learn.
That's always a good reason.
My name is Jim Brown.
Hi,
I
Jim.
was diagnosed about 4 years ago. And I noticed it affecting my talking, facial muscles, and the like. I started looking for, when I was diagnosed, I started looking for information and help, which is what is a natural reaction. Found it very sparse, very difficult to pull together. I could find information on the web. I didn't know whether I could believe it or not. And I did look, read, and the like. And the best thing I did is I found a support group, and I found people who had been through exactly what I had been through. And we shared with each other. And then the best thing I ever did was get involved with rock steady boxing.
Good. Are you over here around the corner at Tidal?
And
Where are you doing the rock steady boxing?
we're doing it online now,
Okay.
but we did it next to Joanne's Tidal boxing.
Yep.
Black Black dog. What is black dog? Black dog?
It's called Title Boxing. You know Zach Williamson?
No.
His daughter owns it.
Which one?
Abby, her and her husband. Uh-huh.
This is Zach Guzza. Zach Guzza.
Oh, nope.
Zach rented the facility to conduct classes.
Okay.
And before COVID, we had 22 to 25 people, 3 days a week.
Nice.
And he's online now. And online we meet Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we call it the Parkinson'sGym.com. You may want to go take a look at it.
Yeah.
That's an excellent class.
And we have a 20-something or so that log in on that. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, we do the wake up with Zach at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we box like crazy. Most of us have gotten a bag at home.
I have a bag.
And we
but I
do it
haven't done
very
it.
intense 1 hour workout.
That's fantastic. And some of the things we're going to be talking about are going to line up right in line with a lot of things you're seeing in the Rocksteady group.
And our support group also sponsors a second Tuesday walk. We try to pick interesting trails in the area. And now that it's opened up so that you can sort of get together outdoors, we've been doing those lately.
Fantastic.
And it's Nordic
Nordic
walking.
pole. Have you ever heard of that?
Uh-huh. There's actually a component of that in the big program.
Yes. And most of us have been through the big program.
Excellent. Very nice. Warming my heart. Any other concerns that you have that you want us to cover along the way as we go through today? Okay, well, if you think of them, it's a small group. Feel free to pipe up, ask questions. We're happy to cover what we can. Jim, thank you for that great information. All right, so today we're going to be covering, this is our plan for the day. We're going to be talking about, of course, Parkinson's disease. We are going to cover a little bit about what it is, how it's diagnosed, but we're mostly going to dive into how it affects your daily life and the types of mistakes people make when it comes to managing Parkinson's. When we're going to be looking through here, we're also going to cover what your treatment options are. Again, we're going to be looking more into the functional treatments as opposed to the medications side of treatments, but we will cover a bit there, and how physical therapy can be helpful for you through the process. So to begin with, I want you to take a look at these people. This little couple on the left. Do they look like they're worried about being able to walk or getting knocked over by the grandkids, having a fall, being able to participate? Or do they look like they're just enjoying getting to hang out with their grandkids? Do you see that and you think, oh, I'd love to visit with grandkids? Or do you see that and think, oh, I hope they're holding on to something, they're about to get knocked over? Something to think about. When you start looking at different situations in terms of how are they going to get by in that situation? Are they in a predicament where they're at risk for a fall or having issues being able to control their body movements in order to be able to hug a grandchild? I always like this one. They look like they're on a cruise, like they're having a great time. Do you look at that and think, I would love to go on a cruise? Or do you look at that and think, man, getting around the airport, managing my bags, getting around a foreign city where the roads might not be super smooth and even? Which one of those categories do you fall into? Do you fall into the category of, yes, let's do that, or, whoa, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that? That's what we're going to be covering today. Also, I love this guy. How old do you think he is? 70 something? 80s, 85? I'll tell you, I don't exactly have an answer. I'd like pop quiz, but I don't know the answer. Um,
That means we were right.
that what? Any one of you could be right. Everybody's right. The point is, do you think, so it looks like he's running a race. Do you think he got up that morning and said, you know, I haven't done anything in 16 years. I'm going to go run a 5K. Or do you think he prepared his body to do the thing he wanted it to do? I'd say it took a little bit of training. I'd say it took getting up every day, going for maybe starting with a walk to a jog to getting going. But the point there is a lot of times people will tell me that, oh, well, I'm older. Okay, let's get one thing very clear. Old is not a diagnosis. Your age is only the thing that's on your driver's license. The rest of it comes down to how you use or abuse the body that you've been blessed with, and how are you going to help it to function at its maximum capacity. And it always cracks me up when I have people we're talking like, you know, I just can't do this anymore. And if you came to me, Joan, and you're like, my car just won't go. And I'm like, well, did you put any gas in it? Have you changed the oil? And they're like, no, I should probably do. But when you look at a human body, people don't have that same expectation. They expect it to jump up and go like a race car at high optimum performance, but they don't consider what are the things I've got to prepare my body to be able to do. The proper nutrition, sleep, how I'm training my body to get through the day. So that's why I like that little guy. Because guess what? I think he was probably training his body, preparing his body for it to do the things he wanted to do. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone here is out to run a 5K, but what are the things you're training your body to do? Are you training your body to be very good at Netflix and couching? Or are you training your body to get out and do some Nordic walking? Are you training your body to go out and do the things that you love doing? So a lot of times when I'm talking with people, there's more than just a physical component. They'll tell me they're scared. They're scared of the unknown, of what might be coming around the bend, of losing their ability to interact with their environment, both cognitively, vocally, and physically. They worry about losing functional use of their body in the activities that they want to do, and that they might not be able to live independently and do their own things around their home. We also see people who, how many of you have seen someone with Parkinson's that hasn't done much about it and they're kind of walking like this? All right, may I have a volunteer? Someone feeling strong today? My mom just pointed at you, so I think you were just volunteer. If you could stand up. This is what is lovingly known as our bowling ball. It is heavy. All right, it's heavy, right? Try holding it out in front of you and tell me which is heavier, out in front or closer to your body. So if you had to hold that up all day, do you think it would start to pull you forward? Guess what? An average head weighs about as much as a small bowling ball. So if your bowling ball is hanging out here, you're almost falling already. Thank you so much. A head, yes. I mean, now this one I think is about 2 pounds heavier than the actual head. Well, it's a good bowling ball. I can't say anything. Is my husband up there? Okay. He's got that what is it? Grass well trodden look, I think is how they put it. So I want you to think about that. Like some of these things that we tend to see as slow changes over time with Parkinson's add up to big things that put you at risk for falls and other functional losses. And this is the question that people, when they're first diagnosed, this is what they start wondering. Is there anything out there to help? And if you Google how to treat Parkinson's, take a deep breath, don't freak out. You're going to see everything from acupuncture to these herbalistic remedies to hopefully you come across the LSBT big program, or with the Rocksteady boxing, hopefully you're coming across good resources, support groups, and that you're able to speak with your neurologist or primary care physician who's treating you to get good resources. Because some of the best things that we look at are not this program, that program. It's how your whole healthcare team and resources are working together for your individual condition. So multiple treatments are available. It can be a little overwhelming. I will tell you, if you go online, is it Healthline? The one that's so popular, and we keep finding incorrect information on there. It's kind of a running joke when we bring in students, we give them a page from Healthline. We're like, read this and tell us what you think. And sometimes it's like that blood vessel doesn't even attach to that part of the brain. Like, what are they thinking? But you'll find some good general resources, but you want to be mindful of what are the sources of information coming from. Is this from the National Institute of Health? Is it from a PubMed or peer-reviewed journal article? Or is it an article from someone who's been around for a while that might have some good practical expertise from experience, but may not be a medical professional? So what we know is that the better you understand your issues, it doesn't matter that I know what's going on. What's going to matter ultimately is that you know what's going on and what works for you. So we want to make sure that you are well informed so that you can start to overcome these issues. Isn't that the cutest little frog? I know. Did you know that if you put a frog in boiling water, it will jump out? But if you put a frog in water and slowly turn up the heat to a boil, it'll stay there thinking it's a little hot tub until it's boiled to death. Because it's kind of long, we recognize quick change very easily. Those things that come on slowly over time, we don't notice as much. So if he loses 10 pounds, you might not notice right off the bat because you see him every day. But if maybe the sister-in-law comes into town that hasn't seen you in 2 months, she's like, hey, you lost some weight. It's a matter of perspective, and those slow changes over time are harder for us to recognize. And this is where it gets a little bit tough with Parkinson's, because the number one mistake that we see people make is they let it go for so long and they just kind of ignore the symptoms. They justify them. Oh, I'm just tired, or oh, yeah, my hand's been doing this little thing, but maybe I just drank too much coffee. I hear all sorts of different excuses or they'll say, you know what, my grandmother's hand did that. That just runs in my family. A lot of times people will come up with these different ways they justify to kind of ignore that this is something they need to get checked out. So just the state of you all being here to learn more information already puts you ahead of the game. But again, the worst symptoms. The reason I say that is the sooner that you can get onto medications to help with the Parkinson's issue, the more you can push off the symptoms and the better you can do in the long run. So whenever I have someone say, or if I'm talking to a physician, like, have you noticed we're seeing these symptoms? And I'll tell you, I had this happen. It was probably one of the more frustrating things in my career where I called a physician and said, look, this person has these symptoms. We're pretty sure this is what's going on. We need you to confirm this so we can actually get them the care that they need. And the physician told me that, yeah, I've known about that for a few years, but I'm just waiting until it really becomes a problem before we deal with it. Okay. What this tells me is you've got to be more proactive. If you notice something's wrong, before you go into your yearly checkups, make sure you're writing down the things you're concerned about. Make sure your physician watches you walk up and down the hall. If you're only seeing a physician for a yearly checkup, you've got to look at people and see how they move, see how they function, because the easiest way to pick up Parkinson's is to watch people move. So sometimes the first thing that we'll start seeing that, or you'll see some of the little hand movements. And I'm sure that you all are aware of some of these symptoms, but it is important. And if you know people that are starting to notice symptoms, please have them insist on getting care for it, because the longer you wait, the harder it is for some of those medications to be as effective. Now, this part, what is Parkinson's disease? I'm going to turn over to Danny. Let you stretch out your smart brain for a bit. There you go.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Like she said, my name is Danny. I'm one of the therapists that works here. So we're talking about Parkinson's disease today. So as most of you know, if not all of you know, Parkinson's is a progressive disease that affects the nerves in the brain, specifically the ones that produce a chemical called dopamine. That dopamine helps control the movement of the body. So when these nerves either get impaired or die, that dopamine level decreases, which leads to tremors, balance problems, and walking difficulties, among other things. There is this diagnosis called Parkinsonisms. Have anybody heard of that before? Heard of that, Parkinsonisms? Do you know the difference between the two? No. So Parkinson's is actually underneath the little umbrella of Parkinsonisms. Parkinsonism is a diagnosis that acts like Parkinson's, but isn't really really isn't the same thing as Parkinson's. Parkinson's usually affects one side more than the other, whereas Parkinsonisms actually affects both sides equally. Parkinsonisms is affected from something else like drugs, radiation, head injuries. So something else in the brain affects that specific part of those nerves, causing what looks like Parkinsonisms. When we treat Parkinson's, we use a lot of medications that levodopa, carbidopa. You can't use drugs with Parkinsonisms because they're not going to work. So when these nerves die, that dopamine level decreases, and it can cause problems with walking, your balance, either just standing balance or walking balance. If you're walking on an uneven ground or on a road that's kind of unlevel, with your coordination, trying to button your pants, button your shirt, trying to put a belt on, trying to tie your shoes. I see a lot of people with Parkinson's go to slippers because they just can't get their fingers to work correctly in order to tie that shoe, which we talk about that finger dexterity. So Parkinson's is underneath the umbrella of Parkinsonisms, and sometimes it takes a few months, maybe a couple of years to really diagnose exactly what your problem is, because you may start out with one thing, but it may be from something else. I had a patient a couple of years ago who had Parkinson's symptoms. Once they stopped one of her medications, all of her symptoms went away. Just food for thought. So how do we diagnose it? There are no medical tests to truly diagnose Parkinson's disease, so it can be difficult to accurately diagnose it. One of the best things, like Miss Elena was saying, is watching you walk. How are you walking? How is your posture? When we look at all of that, we look at how you're walking, how your balance is. Are you picking your feet up? Family may be the first to notice changes in early Parkinson's because, like we were talking about earlier, you're just kind of ignoring the problem, ignoring the symptoms. And a family member can look at you like, you know what, you've not been looking right. You're kind of shuffling a little bit more. You're having more difficulty putting your pants on or your shirt on. So family members are usually the first people to notice that. You'll notice some tremors, just kind of, sometimes they can be small, sometimes they can be big. Soft voice, like you were talking about earlier, like, you start speaking like this and you're saying, I can't hear you. And they're going, well, I'm speaking as loud as I can, but you really can't hear them. Slower walking with shuffling steps. So a family member may have seen a couple of years ago that when they went for the walk outside, everything was going good. They were walking fast. And over the last few months or whatever, there's been a slow decline in their speed, how they're walking. They may be tripping more because they're not picking their feet up. And worsening posture. Talked about that bowling ball, that head coming over here. They tend to kind of go like this, which leads to a lot of complications, a lot of problems. And specifically with walking, if your posture is like this and you're not picking your feet up, you're at more risk of falling over.
Well, Danny, with that soft voice, do they feel like they're speaking normally?
They feel like they're speaking normally. Yes. And when they go through the LSVT big program, we teach them and train them to speak louder. And it feels like they report like they are yelling. And where they're not. They're speaking this volume, but they feel like they are yelling at the top of their lungs. But when they feel like they talk normally, they'll be talking like this. And you really can't hear them. And
it doesn't affect their hearing.
it doesn't affect their hearing, no. But
They can't hear them So when they hear
They-
themselves speaking, they feel like they're speaking a normal tone.
like a normal tone.
So when
Yes.
they're speaking louder though,
Yes.
do they hear the louder?
They hear themselves, they don't think there's a problem. And that also translates into the way they walk. So when they're walking like this, you see them walking like this, they really think they're walking like this. Their brain tells them that this is normal and this is so abnormal, they're going to fall. That's what their brain is saying. So they start to speak softer, start to walk slower, because their brain is telling them that is what's safe and that is what's normal for them. In the program that we do, the LSVT Big and Loud program, we encourage them to increase their amplitude of movement, which we'll get to in a few minutes, and to speak big or speak loud. And it feels like they are yelling. And when we're going through it, I have to go in this room over here because we are literally yelling, and I don't want to disrupt everybody. You actually hear us yelling in there. So here's a short video of before that LSVT PIG program and after. There we go. You go through. Well, it's also the sound not coming through.
Can you hear her saying,
Yeah.
This is them asking her beforehand. She's talking about how frustrating it is for people to not be able to hear her.
You hear the difference? You can hear it a whole lot better now.
So this is after she's been practicing the Big and Loud program. Before, she was saying she felt like she was stuttering, no one could hear her, and she would get frustrated that when people would come over, they weren't including her because they couldn't hear her. Okay, I apologize. Usually the little speaker comes over this, and I think I told you all I'm good with bodies, but technology and I sometimes don't get along. But what we're looking at with Short Shirley here is, if you notice her, you may have noticed to begin with, you could hardly hear what she was saying, and her doing her little was just barely. And the second one, she's very much like very long, loud, and you could hear her. Now, if you notice when she is moving here, she kind of moves her lips a little bit as she's talking, but her face tends to be a little bit almost stony and not really a lot of facial expression. So you see when she's talking, it's basically just a little bit of her lips moving versus, are you able to fast forward on there, Danny? Towards the end, you see her, yeah, just come to the bottom, scroll right there. And if you look at her talking now, you'll see her, you can see facial expressions as she's thinking about things, her eyebrows are moving. So what we're looking at, it's not just, yes, she's got some great personality. And how much of that were you missing of her before she was able to express herself appropriately? So that was Short Shirley. She's just so sweet. I always love that video of her. So what we were going to talk about for a moment, do you remember how Danny was saying that people will perceive that they're speaking at a normal volume or moving at a normal degree of motion? What we look at when there's a reduction of dopamine going to the dopamine receptors in the part of your brain called the basal ganglia, some of you may be familiar with that part of the brain, what happens is this becomes a calibration issue. So if you have someone with Parkinson's close their eyes and say, reach your arms out 2 feet wide, they might go in here somewhere. And then I say, reach as big as you can, and they might come to here. Versus someone without Parkinson's, they're reaching like, this is how wide. That perception of how far things are moving is reduced. It's a calibration issue. So when you look at things like posture, they may feel like this is standing up straight, when in reality, we'd like for them to be here with a larger, bigger movement. If you look at their walking, they will perceive that they're taking a big, long step. And this is where you start getting that kind of shuffling gait. In addition to having the bowling ball in front where you're kind of falling, that contributes to some of the shuffling as well. But when you mention the Nordic walking, part of the big program is learning how to take giant steps. And what this does, by overextending what normal is, when you're doing a regular step, it helps you recalibrate what a normal amplitude of movement is for a step. By speaking this loudly, then we can start to take someone who speaks like this and bring their volume up to a level that you can communicate effectively with. So I want you to think about the different issues that come along with Parkinson's. Excuse me. Most of the things we're looking at is because there's a change in amplitude. And you're really going to see this come out in small activities, because you think a small activity requires a small degree of motion. Well, people with Parkinson's, what's a small motion to them will be even smaller, and it's not functional. So we'll have people with difficulty, like Danny said, buttoning a shirt, tying your shoes. This will affect your balance. If someone bumps into me, I'm like, whoa, I need to take a step out to catch myself. If I only take this much of a step, I'm not really catching myself. So it's going to affect balance as well. So when we're looking at these things, I want you to kind of keep that in mind. This also comes down to things like breathing. I want you to try taking a small little shallow breath versus the big one. There are a lot of things that come hand in hand with Parkinson's that aren't necessarily because of the Parkinson's themselves, because of the Parkinson's itself, but because you're not functioning at a normal amplitude of breathing and functioning movement. So if you spend your life breathing like this, those little breaths, you're going to affect your heart function, breathing function, and cognitive function. So those are some things that I want you to be mindful of as well. When we look at Parkinson's associated issues, there are, again, a lot of issues associated with Parkinson's that are not directly caused by it, but can be indirectly caused by it. How many of you have had sleeping issues? Now, sometimes that's not Parkinson's. There's a lot of things that can create sleeping issues. But sleeping issues, fatigue, memory loss, and depression, these are things that we tend to see. And if someone told you, stinks to be you, your life's just going to get worse, I would be pretty down about that too. There are things you can be doing about this. While Parkinson's is progressive, There are a lot of things you can be doing, so this doesn't have to be stopping you from the things you enjoy doing. And the better job you do at physically maintaining your independence and normal amplitude of movement, the better you'll do with your breathing, your heart function, and a lot of these other issues. So what we want to look at is how to actually live better. Does that make sense? There's a difference between living and just being alive. No one comes to me and says, hey, Elena, when I turn 70, I want to move into one of those places. It's called a nursing home. They bring you lunch 3 times a day and you get a bath twice a week. And like, no one tells me that's what they're looking forward to. They tell me, Elena, I want to live my life on my own terms, in my own house, doing what I want to do when I want to do it. And the biggest reason that people will end up with, I hate to say involuntary admission to skilled care, but most people don't actively decide this is what I want to do. Reasons that come into that have to do with independence of movement. Can you get to the bathroom by yourself in time? I know that seems like a small thing, but if you're not able to make it to the restroom and you're sitting in soiled clothing that predisposes you to different types of infections, skin breakdown, and you've got to be able to get up to take care of your basic needs. And that's not what most people think about. They think, oh, am I able to walk in the grass and do my yard work? The reality is it comes down to the basic things. Are you able to safely get in and out of bed, back and forth from the toilet, take care of your needs in the kitchen and around the house? So let's talk about treatment. It can be treated. As of now, we don't have a cure, but there are a few things you can do with this. There are medications. Make sure you're speaking with your physician or neurologist about what the appropriate cocktail of medications is for you and your condition. There is no one size fits all. You try a dosage, you see how it works for you, and you go back and communicate that with your physician. Your physician brings a great amount of expertise to the scenario, but it is a physician-patient team, which means you've got to bring your part of the information back too, so that they can include that in their decision-making. Deep brain stimulation. How many of you have any of you all tried the deep brain stimulation? I'm trying to remember, who was I talking to that had the deep, Gloria's husband. That's who was talking to us about that this week. The deep brain stimulation has some pretty good results behind it. Again, that's something that'll be a decision between you and your healthcare provider, if that is an appropriate course of action moving forward. And of course, the LSVT big program. It doesn't matter. Everyone's like, LS what? This is the name of the woman who, they named it after the first woman they were doing this with. But I want you to think of this as the big program, all right? The reason we call it the big program is because everything is big. Big movements, big volume, big posture, big everything you're doing. Big intensity, big everything. So the more that we're adding that big component to everything, that's where we're helping to recalibrate how your body perceives motion. Now, a lot of people say, oh, here's the big program. You can actually go, you can look online. Oh, here's some big exercises. The exercises are one part of the big program. And where I'll tell you a lot of people will get tripped up is they say, here's someone who has Parkinson's, and they just go right through and march through this program. And the reality is not everybody is built the same. Sometimes we have someone hunched over like this, not because of Parkinson's, but because their back hurts. Guess what? Take care of the back problem. It's so much easier to get through making some of those corrections. So the most important part of any treatment regime, especially the big program, is a thorough assessment. And this is where you're spending an hour of one-on-one time with a professional that's looking through your body, how it functions well, what it needs assistance with, and what are the things in the big program that are going to be effective for you. Have you ever heard the expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Well, sometimes, hey, you might not have a problem with this component of the program. All right, you're good at that. Let's move on to the things that you need. So it's one of the things we look at Merino is customizing the program to the things that are most functional to you and your needs. Hands-on care. Most of my big patients for their first week, we spend the first part of their session just getting in and getting some work done on some joints and some tissues that are a little bit, if you've been doing this for a while, things are going to get stiff and tight. So my last woman, she was like, can I just come back for that first part where we feel good? We want you to feel good, but we need to teach your body how to keep feeling good and not rely on us for long term. So the LSVT big program recalibrates your body and helps you retrain your muscles and brain to be able to do things a certain way. It's not uncommon for people to, at one stage in their Parkinson's, oh, we're starting to have some problems. They go through the big program and they've kind of recalibrated and everything's going well. And then maybe as things progress, they start noticing, oh, I'm starting to do that shuffle thing. We come back and look at, okay, what are the issues now? And they go through that. I have some people who look at going through the big program every other year just to keep recalibrating and keeping them moving well. And gait retraining and balance, a lot of what we do, we actually have a whole center over here. And when we're done, we'll kind of come over there and look at it. We actually have one of those big frames that has a harness that it's like instant Weight Watchers. You just turn it up and whoop, lifts you up a little bit. Basically, what the cool thing there is we can get people doing all sorts of fun things with no risk of falls because it holds you up. But we have a lot of people working on things like being able to kneel to the ground to get weeds out of the ground, and then being able to get back up in the middle of the yard without having to crawl over to the side of the fence and use something to help them up. So we look at gait training and balance. That's one part of the equation. What do you like to do in your day-to-day life? Do you need to be able to get up and down under a car or around for a Tai Chi class? What are the things that you want to be able to do? We have a whole section of every visit just focused on helping you do the things you want to do. And I'll tell you, those are the parts that have more carryover, the stuff you do in your day-to-day life, than about anything. So for the Big and Loud program, just like Danny, I've been talking about, the goal is to recalibrate your movement, your volume, your breathing, your intensity to do it's almost like Control-Alt-Delete where you reset a computer. We're basically resetting the calibration system of your brain. And with physical therapy, we include, you've got to look at what are the other components involved that might be limiting you as an individual. So I think we're going to be going over the big program. It's a simple daily program. You knock it out first thing in the morning. And it's almost like you're resetting for the day. I have a lot of people who are great at sticking with this. And they're like, yep, I've got it. I have some people who get distracted, grandkids or life or vacations, things happen. And sometimes they've got to come back like, oh, I'm off track. Let me, help me get redirected. That doesn't always warrant a full course of a big program. But what we let people know is once you're done, you're not done. And we don't kick you out when you're done. We say you're on we're here if you need us basis. And I'll tell you, the doctors and insurance companies have been pretty pleased with that so far. We do what are called booster visits so that you get so far out, like, okay, let's make sure it's still coming along. Because about a month and a half, 2 months later is where people start to, maybe they've forgotten something, or maybe they're doing something not quite right, that we have to kind of get them back on track. So that's how we ensure that our patients do well in the long run as well. All right, we have another fun video for you. And then Danny's going to talk us through some more of this. Now, this one, since our sound is not doing great, this is a 71-year-old man with Parkinson's. You'll see on the left, this is him just trying to walk out to his car versus after the big program, him walking out to his car. And you'll notice the guy on the right is almost out into the parking lot, and the first one's not even out the front door yet. You'll see the small shuffly steps. And I don't know, does it show him looking down, how he's kind of leaned forward? It might towards the end. Yeah. There we go, from the side. So you see the one, he kind of has that little shuffly, stompy steps versus the guy on the right, he's booking it, isn't he?
And no walking stick.
And no cane, exactly. Mm-hmm. And while during the big program, we're doing these big activities for walking, what we're looking at here is what this person's regular walking looks like after training. Who would like to walk like the guy on the right? Or better? You know what's fascinating? So I went through the big program, goodness, 8, 9 years ago. And they do these videos of people with Parkinson's that are hardly walking, and you put them on a bicycle. And they start bicycling and getting moving, and their balance, you would be thinking, oh my word, this is so dangerous, this person might fall. And just getting on that bicycle riding where they're having to control their balance, it levels right out. Like bicycle riding, if you have Parkinson's, is a great way. Like try to keep using it, because a lot of times people will get these diagnoses and they just shut down. Like I don't need to do anything. The more you can keep doing, the longer you'll be able to keep doing it. Dan's going to go over some options for us.
So
Do the taste test on me.
the Big and Loud program has been standardized, researched, and it's got specific protocols. The first big thing with the big program is targets the bigness or loudness of the movement. So when we go through these exercises, we're looking at big posture, big movements, loud voice. That's the target right there. Mode. This is where the hardest part right here, intensive and high effort. You should feel like after these exercises, you've had a really good workout and that you're pretty tired. On a scale of 0 to 10, the intensity should be around an 8 or a 9. These are not just easy exercises to do. These need to be intense, big, and loud. And calibration. We talked about the calibration so you can have success long term. And with these exercises, you can do them every so often, like she was talking about, like every other year, to kind of help recalibrate, retrain, and have long lasting success. So target, I'm talking about a very soft voice. You see how right here, they're kind of hunched over a little bit. Their voice is kind of soft. What we're working for is we drive that effort, drive that voice to be very loud, very pronounced, so everybody can hear. And it's the same thing with the walking. We go from a bent over with a cane, small steps, working on large steps, big posture, big movements. So the 5 key principles promote learning. Intensity. We drive the amplitude, drive the big movements. We increase the repetitions, which means we start with like 5 and we'll work up to 10 and 15. When those get easy, we can add resistance, whether that's weights, rubber bands, or even balance things where we work on decreasing. Sorry, this mass is coming down. Decreasing the base of support or putting you on a surface that is not hard. It's a soft surface. So it forces you to use muscles to get stronger and to improve your balance. Complexity. We start off really simple. And that could be as simple as standing up and sitting down. And we work to more complex things, which would be opening the car door, turning around, sitting down, putting your feet in, closing the door, opening the door, putting your feet out, standing up, getting out, and then closing the car. You start simple, start slow, but you work to more complex and more functional things. Repetition. These exercises, like I said, we start with 5, 10, 15. You do them every single day. The more you can do it and the bigger the movements, the louder the movements, the more the brain will recalibrate and help improve overall function. I don't think I could do that when I was 20, but this is another one. You see how she's got hand weights in her hands. She's on a box and she looks like she's about to step up onto something. Salience, practicing rewarding and meaningful tasks. Activate circuits in the brain's basal ganglia. Basically, golfing. We would work on golfing every visit, whether that's swinging, putting, balance, whatever. Whatever you find rewarding that you want to work towards, sewing or gardening. We work on that every visit, working on the bigness, the loudness. 4. That's what I usually say, actually. To recalibrate the brain to get you back to doing the things you want to do. Specificity, train the deficits, small movements like buttoning your shirt, putting your pants on. We practice the actual task. If you've got problems, golf swing, tying your shoe, buttoning your shirt, we'll have you button your shirt, unbutton your shirt, and we'll practice that until you can get it to where it's more efficient, it's bigger, and more functional. So traditional therapy, you do kind of exercises, but that doesn't equate to actual functional movements. Because in this exercise right here, this patient is using just a couple of different muscles in order to get that leg up. Right here, this lady is using a lot of muscles, and that causes the brain to say, we need to move everything instead of just one specific muscle. Now we get to have fun. We're going to move and shout. I'm sure you're probably familiar with these right here. Okay, these are a couple of the exercises in the Big and Loud program. Okay, we're going to actually do a couple of them. I'm going to show you what we're going to do first, and then we're going to do 5 of them. Okay, so we start with big posture. Okay, the first move, out big, we'll go to 10, 1, 2, skip a few, 9, 10, down big, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, up big, out big, and in big. Now, on top of that, we are going to count to 10. Okay, so everybody, big posture, big feet. Let you get your jacket off real quick. All right. I want you to watch me, look at me, and do what I do. You ready? And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In big. Perfect.
Did y'all feel a stretch in your fingertips that you're reaching so far out you could feel a stretch in the tips?
Pretty good. Yeah. All right, ready? And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And in big. Good. Here we go again. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And in big. Good. One more.
This is a lot harder with this stupid.
It is. It sure is. Well, Well, what we normally do is we go into the room where it's just us and we're so far back that every so often we'll just take a breath.
So you're putting your feet on the outside of
Yeah, big posture. Yep, big posture.
So I gotta get to the edge of the chair. Every movement is intense.
All right, one more time. Ready? And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And big. Woo. That's kind of hard, kind of intense, isn't it? Now, there's many components to it. One of them is the big posture, the big movements, and the loud voice. So we kind of hit a lot of different things while we're doing these. All right, the second one, I want everybody to stand up, kind of spread out a little bit, because this next movement, I call this Surfing USA. We start big posture. In big. Big step, in big. Big step, in big. Big step, in big. Good. Perfect. Now the other way. Remember, big step, in big. Those are the cues. So loud. So good posture. Big step, in big. 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 Woo, y'all can have a seat. Here's another video of a guy doing the buttons.
She's saying that he's using very small, slow motions, attempting to get that first button in the hole.
You can tell he's having some difficulty.
He mentioned that this was very frustrating.
It's been 38, so I was going to say it's been about 30 seconds since he's been trying.
These are great to practice on your own. Flick, flick, flick.
There we go. 10 seconds. And what he did are what we call finger flick. Incorporate this also into the exercises. So as we were doing the stretching, we can do flicks with it. You remember those? I don't know. And you can also do them for like buttoning, do flicks. Yeah, you can do those. There's a lot of things you can do. So, all right, I'm going to hand it over to Miss Elena again. Oh, yeah. I don't think it was, I think that was the only video.
There's a last little part.
Oh, was there?
I just didn't do a good job of. Okay, I might be off on that one. I thought there was an extra little part on there.
I found shirts with magnetic buttons.
You know what? I've heard a lot of people starting to move towards, or the easy snap buttons, but the magnetic ones.
Why wouldn't you just go to something that makes it easy?
Those are the ones they do for those shows in Vegas. Now we know where you're shopping. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so the last little part on there, one of the things we look at with buttons is we'll do those flicks, and it's a hard flick. It's almost like you're flinging. And when you're doing these, you'll almost feel it out to the tips of your fingertips. For those people who have that little issue with like you might have heard of pill rolling or the hands moving, flicks throughout the day with all of the exercises, we start to incorporate a lot of these in because it helps you get that control of what small versus large motion is. At the end of it, it was talking about angry buttons. If you're angry with that button, like button, go in the hole. You're doing it. It sounds kind of mean to the button, but doing that with intensity, that's what they were talking about, angry buttons at the end, pushing it through, that's where it starts getting faster, you get better accuracy. And it seems like you're just being mean to your button, but with Parkinson's, you're actually recalibrating. So these are things that we look at in the grand scheme of, it's not just about here's some exercises to do. What are the activities that you need to be working on, and how can we help you recalibrate those? So like our little better than big, when we look at some of our options for physical therapy, we've got other things to look at besides just the exercises. I have some people whose balance is not quite where it is to be able to do the big movements without a little assistance. That's where we use the unweighted gait system. We use a little harness, give them some support. Then they can really do the big one without that fear of falling. And I'll tell you, just getting past where they think this is a big step versus here, that small extra little bit is what makes all the difference in people making a lot of quick and large changes in their functional status. We also do aquatic therapy, and we actually have, I'll show you all around if you want to check things out after we're done. We have an indoor pool. It was right next to the bathroom, if any of you all have been back towards the bathroom. And we have a current in there. So we have some people who just practice walking backwards against this current that's trying to push them forward. It's a small thing, but I'll have people do that for 10 minutes before their visit, and their upright standing looks so much better, because how many times are you having to come back upright? Most people spend their day doing this or now this on their devices. How many times today have you done this? Aside from with Danny doing the exercises. Just 5 times. Touche. But in general, most people don't do this and stand up and stretch and open up big throughout their day, which would be helpful. But the aquatic therapy with the heated pool, we keep the pool around 92, 93 degrees against a current, it does great things for balance, but you also have the assistance of the water, so you're not worried about just falling over. And I think, Jason, did you turn on the other room? We'll show you in the other room. We actually have a Wii. I don't know if you remember those little balance boards, but you like get on there, you can ski downhill. And we have some people who their balance isn't quite ready, so we put them in the vest. We don't even have to unweight them. We just put it on a safety setting so that they can't fall, and they get to move around and practice shifting their weight in a safe environment where they're not worried about associated risks of falling. So how do you know when you need help? Of course, I'm a little biased. I think if you do need assistance, you should choose Merino Physiotherapy. We actually just hired another physical therapist this week who's finishing her fellowship in orthopedics and working on her board certification as well. We have the highest credentialed staff, and I think now that she's on board in Tennessee, probably a little bit of a tri-state region around there as well, for this side of the, for the eastern side of the state. But if you are looking for assistance, we're here to help. If you're ready for answers about your specific condition and what you can be doing to help yourself be moving farther, moving better, that's when you would give us a call. If you want the most efficient course of care, this is the difference between a standard LSVT big program and choosing Merino, where you have the thorough assessment of all of the things going on with your body that need to be addressed. Of course, if you want or need the best, some people are like, hey, you're the best around, that's who I want to see. Then I would suggest you give us a call. So ultimately, when it comes to managing your symptoms, managing your issues, managing things that don't move well, I tell people if it doesn't move well and it's between your hair and your toenails, we work on it. ask us. If we don't, we know the best people around town who can. We're here to be a resource for you. So you ultimately have these three options. You can ignore it. I like the little monkey pretending there's no problem. You can hope that the medications by themselves will do enough for you. Excuse me. This will usually get you so far. You ultimately have to make sure you have the combination of medications and movement keeping you to the level of function that you want. Or you can actually handle it. You can make an appointment with a physical therapist, get an assessment of your body and what your particular needs are, and start to do something about it. So what to do next? I'm going to show you a number on here. Da-da-da. I'll kind of point through. You see how we have this little text on here? I tell people, get your cell phone out, save our phone number. If you have questions along the way, send us a text message. Give us a phone call. We're happy to help with any of those. If you'd like an assessment with a physical therapist, that would be with me, Danny, Bill, or Courtney. Actually, for the Parkinson's ones, most of those end up starting off with Danny, where you get an assessment not just of your Parkinson's symptoms, but how your body functions and moves. And what we look at from there, you'll be discussing not only your Parkinson's history, but your body history. What has this body been through? And from there, we can pinpoint and prioritize what your issues are and what a plan for you is. Again, I have some people who start off who come in on a walker who can barely walk. I have some people who walk in that are still playing tennis, but like, I'm noticing these little things. Everyone's at a different place, and you need to tailor it to match your personal needs. Now, next, Danny and I are going to be hanging around the front desk. We'll kind of we'll open up the pool and the balance and gait center, which is this next gym over here. We have a 6,000 square foot facility. It's really easy to keep distancing and to be able to have some one-on-one space to get things done around here. So we'll show you around. If you have questions, we'll be at the front desk area answering anything that you might have. I do suggest you have a great weekend, even though it's raining. And if you do get a chance, we would appreciate it. Did you get your money's worth today? Bad free workshop joke. But if you can, leaving us a review on Google. When people find our workshop advertisements, they're like, okay, what are they really going to talk about? What I want to know about? Reviews about our workshops help people when they look us up to say, oh, these are actual people who care and want to share great information. So we definitely appreciate any reviews that you could leave for us. And again, save our phone number in your phone. I can't tell you, we have an after hours on call. So I will tell you, it's not an emergency line. If whoever's on call is asleep, we'll get it when we wake up. If we're hiking, we'll get it when we're done hiking. But I have a lot of times people will message me on an evening or weekend like, hey, by the way, I just fell down a couple of stairs. Do I have to go to the emergency room? We get on a phone call or a Zoom session. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Okay, yep, this question, you definitely need to go to the emergency room. Oh, can you do this, this, or this? Oh, actually, that's going to be fine. Here's what you need to do, and then we'll see you in the morning. Excuse me. But what we found is when people go straight to x-rays, MRIs, for some things that don't necessarily need it, your risk of having surgery and additional complication, goes up 6 times, especially if it's a back or spine issue. And there's very easy ways to tell if this is an emergent situation or if it's not. So if you have those questions, feel free to reach out and give us a call. Other than that, thank you all for coming in today. I know it was a little dreary outside. Isn't she so cute? She was dancing and singing Hamilton not too long ago. I need to call and see how she's doing. So these are just some of our patients. Oh, Julie, she was fantastic. She's back to playing golf now, isn't she? Yes. And again, oh, that is not our phone number. Sorry, added an extra number in there. This is our phone number, 236-0340. If you have a civic group, church group, or some group that you're like, hey, we have some people who want to know about this health topic, give me a call, let me know. We've got, I think we're up to 30 different workshops that we offer right now. Here are a few of them that tend to be a little more popular. We do everything from how to sit at a desk. We're hosting a course on caring for the caregiver here in June. So if you know anyone who's taking care of someone else where they're having to move them in bed, help them up and down from their chairs, That's who that course is for. It's how to take care of your own body while you're caring for someone else safely. So yeah, we do workshops all the time. Yes.
So Elena, how about, say, in Frank's case, my husband,
Mhm.
he's clueless. So I think a course like that, I don't want to scare him. 'Cause
Mhm.
You don't know how it's going to be for
Mhm.
sure. Well, I guess at the end, it's about the same for everybody, but I think a course like that would be good for him.
Well, I'll tell
Not
you,
having to do anything.
we're working on recording as many of these as possible. So there are some times where it's not appropriate, like super early on, but it might be appropriate later on. Those are things that are great for both partners to come into. And we actually have some people who will just schedule an evaluation and we'll just go through it one-on-one. If we have someone, it's not uncommon for some of my patients to bring in a few of their caregivers and we'll just do like an evening session of here is for this person so that everyone who's caring for them knows like here's the safest way to help them in and out of bed, or to help them if you're helping them up and down stairs, how it's safe for all of you. If you're helping someone in and out of a car, and everyone wants to help someone and they want to grab arms or they want to reach over. And I'll tell you, I treat more injuries from caregivers than the patient themselves, trying to be helpful, but not understanding the safety and mechanics of how to do that. And I actually teach that same class. I used to teach for a couple of the hospitals I've worked for. We would do back to basics on basic posture, how to sit at a desk. We did super spine for people who are lifting and carrying boxes and loads. And then we did a third class, and this is the worst name for a class ever, but it was how to move a dead body or one that acts that way. And it was for the ICU nurses who are physically moving bodies that cannot help them. And now we've got to come up with a better name than that, but how to help, move someone safely using good mechanics. My husband, Jason, if you turn around back there, I can move him from laying on his back to sitting up on the side of the bed with 4 fingers. He's not a little guy. And my fingers are not that strong. It's about using the body mechanics and leverage of his body as well. So, yeah.
mean, maybe like an overview over a period of 10 years of what Frank could expect?
Yeah, or something like that. He's sort of the type that when it gets here, I'll deal with it.
Um,
And to me, it seems like it'd be better if he's a
Mhm.
little more prepared as time goes on. Maybe it'll just work itself out.
we will be offering that class once or twice a year moving forward as well. But what I'll do is I'll record it. And if you want to watch over it and see like, okay, is this something, because again, all of our classes, we tend to customize depending on who's there. But yeah, we can talk about that some more about what options are, but you're very healthy. I would focus on how do you keep you doing you well for as long as possible there. Yes.
The thing with caregivers in our group, most of the people who have the Parkinson's are guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a group of caregivers who meet once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's called Wine and Dine.
That's a fun caregiver group.
And they meet on Thursday night. Now, it really is women. So it wouldn't be appropriate comment for him because we neither side.
Like Margaret goes, your wife.
Margaret goes, yes. And the couple of times that I've heard some of it, they told me get out of the way.
But those are great things. So that would probably be a good group that if they wanted us to do one just for them, we actually have a hospital bed in the back that we get out for that to show people like, hey, here's the best way. Here's how you know how high the hospital bed should be for the patient and for you. Here's how you set things up so that you're working efficiently.
Mhm.
So yeah, we do all sorts of different ones, but and when there's a question, like maybe you're not to the point where we're like how to get in and out of bed, but here's some things you can be looking at as far as helping. A lot of those we tend to do more on a one-on-one education sessions. We also, another great one, tell you what, one of the biggest things that I see with Parkinson's patients is understanding how to get in and out of a chair effectively. Can
Zach shows us a lot of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
His class was really like for that big
There's a lot of carryover between them. So if you happen to check, so we're trying to start a whole video library of courses that we've done. And if you're on our website at marinophysio.com, and you can grab Danny's card on your way out, and this site will be on there. But if you look where it says workshops, there's a little down arrow and it says video library. And when we go to different locations, we try to film when we do, like this was a talk I gave at Burn Boot Camp. We did a knee pain workshop, back pain workshop. This one we did for the Knoxville Council on Aging about arthritis. But this one right here, the posture workshop, I have a lot of people who will watch this one, and it's probably about 55 minutes. It's a great date night, by the way, if you want to do something fun with your spouse. But for a lot of people with Parkinson's, just learning how to balance your body a little bit better is a huge thing. And this also goes the safest and best way to get in and out of a chair. And that may seem like an odd thing, how to get in and out of a chair, but if you do it the right way, and that becomes your habit of how you get in and out of a chair, it actually gets you stronger, keeps you more independent, functioning longer. I think there's another one on here, Aging with Independence. I did for the older, wiser Lutherans, and that page has like some extra resources on there as well. So, but yeah, if you have any questions about workshops, or if we can be helpful in, as resources in any way, always feel free to reach out to us. Welcome to call or text. And I really appreciate you all coming out today, even though it was a little dreary. Well, thank you. Would you all like to see the pool and the Balance and Gait Center?
Didn't bring the swimming trunks.
You're not going to do a cannonball in there? Danny, do you want to turn on the current? And we got to get up and move around a little bit. We've been sitting too much. And as we grow, we actually have another 6,000 square feet. We'll be expanding onto that side within a few years. It'll be all sorts of excitement. Come on back. That's the husband.
I don't even know this lady.
Now we do have like an unweighted system we put over the treadmill for some people out here. Oh goodness. It's a little wet over here. It's a little bit wet over here. I'm going to stand right here because it's wet, but
This is cool.
so if you want to crank that up, we actually have a current where you can kind of get the whole thing moving. I will tell you, we're about to close it for a week in May because we're going to repaint the bottom and the whole room, bring it up to date. But it's fun. We'll have sometimes we'll have patients getting to see like how fast they can swim type of thing. But for walking, we actually have a little basement under here, and there's a window where we can film how people are moving and walking, and then we bring it out afterwards and show them like here, then you can really see what's going on. So yeah, it's not the most exciting, but it is for us. All right, let's come on out front and we'll check out the Balance and Gait Center. Thank you, Danny. We don't crank it up that high for our beginners. Yep, go to the right. And just keep going straight. You'll see a sign straight ahead that says the Balance and Gait Center. Yes, we do. We actually have a whole massage room, but we held on moving forward with it until after COVID settles down. So if we come right through here, this is our Balance and Gait Center. So this track, it'll slide out and we can use the whole space where we practice stairs, practice all sorts of things. And essentially, I'm not going to fully put this on. Oh. We have this where you're anchored in and we hook it up and it lifts you up a little bit. We also, we do all sorts of things. We have people doing steps. We have people doing like being able to do some more dynamic things. Oh, we fell asleep. Who do we have on here? Oh, that's me. Oh, 3,000. That's how old this bee is. Are you having a nice day? Oh, it's been a long time. We have a different one. I had this set up for another rehab unit. Oh, whoops. Nope. Nope. I don't, B trigger. Do you have an Achilles heel? I have an Achilles tendon. How do I get to the thing? Training? Anyways, we have a lot of people that will balance games. And you can actually come through in here and select some different things. Oh, this is where the table tilt game was. We just need to put it under my account. Using the balance bubble. I'll tell you, this is one our patients have a lot of fun on because they will challenge the therapist and see who gets farther. So, well, they've been practicing. They practice it. We need to get in and practice these some more. But it'll tell us, okay, ready to go. And I don't know where our volume is on this, but it has some fun little music. And it says, here you go. And you can basically do some shifting. And this is how a lot of people start to recognize where neutral is. And you shift and you lean. Oh no. And you try not to pop the bubble. And this is not as easy as it looks, by the way.
I was gonna say, it looks pretty darn easy.
Oh no, I popped my bubble. But small, and then you just start. Like we take people through here, and this is a great way we can kind of measure like how far are they able to go and control things, how much time does it take? It helps us get some objective scores that help us look at how people are doing. We have some people who their main problem, more so than their balance, is their posture. And we actually have a little posture mapping system that goes into a computer. Our fun little chair that looks like it's from the Spanish Inquisition, where it can create pressure on different parts of the spine and help you retrain. Because a lot of people look like this. And what do you say? Stand up straight. And what do? They haven't actually fixed anything. They're just bending their knees some more, or they're trying to arch their low back. So while a lot of times people say, here are the things you see with Parkinson's, what we tend to find is different people have different components that are more specific to them as individuals. So yeah, this is our fun little balance and gait center. We might have too much fun in here. This one, we're actually getting rid of this one. That we have a better one in the main gym. When we have people who also have like neuropathy or diabetes that are starting to lose some sensation on their feet, that's not great for your balance. We actually will have them do some of their training on the vibration. It helps with the proprioception. They get up and walk. Their balance scores usually go up about 20% after vibration. So it's not all that there is, but it's a good component that we add in for the people who need that. So yeah. I opened a practice, by the way. Did I tell you that? It's good to see you. She was my very first boss.
Oh, she was a
Way-
lifeguard
Way back in the day.
back in, I don't know how long ago.
It's been like 20
Well, you and
years.
Adam are the same age, right? He's
Actually, he was the
41.
class above me.
Okay, he's 41.
Oh man, how's Adam doing?
Good. He said
He's a PT as well, right?
they don't really have any Parkinson's. They haven't come up with
Yeah.
any of those.
Star is more in the
So,
orthopedic realm.
yeah, yeah, it is.
And I'm not going to open up lots of different locations. We're going to have one center of specialists. And the cool thing there is if one thing's not working, we have like 8 other bright,
Yeah.
brilliant brains. You can all come together and
We should look closer. Might not be far from here.
No.
We do a class online. He's in the same class that I'm in 3 days a
Uh-huh.
week. And it's
The
a
chat
Parkinson's
room is
class.
a hoot.
I can imagine.
He's always telling jokes.
Mhm.
Is that with the punching bag?
Well, that's another one. I finally do
That's
have my
on
punching
Tuesday,
bag, but,
Thursday.
Yeah.
but this is Monday, Wednesday,
Mhm.
Friday.
But those big, intensive movements are
Yeah.
fantastic for Parkinson's. I have a lot of people that graduate from the big program to the title boxing company that will send them over that way for their next phase. And then I have people who come back like with just like 1 or 2 things, and then we like clean that up and get them right back working on the fun stuff. I think we're fun stuff too, but I'm biased.
We need to get Zach you need to meet Zach.
Yeah.
neat guy.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's really into the,
And,
and he has this, and he's pretty neat.
and he's driven. His dad had Parkinson's.
Mhm.
And as he says, he saw him shrivel up into nothing
And there were no programs. for him.
because they wouldn't
Mhm.
let him out of his wheelchair. He said they
So he would
strapped
fall.
him in because they were afraid he was gonna fall.
And you know what the
So-
best way to ensure that someone is going to fall is to take away their ability to practice not falling.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, yeah. And that's
and
what happened to his-
so he's very motivated and
Mhm.
and so you need to meet him. He's very well known in the Parkinson's community.
So is he affiliated with the title boxing, or is he married to I didn't
No,
think
his
the
wife
owner's
is
name was
Gary.
Zach. I thought
Now,
it was,
Laura,
yeah, Laura is Zach's daughter. Lauren.
Lauren,
Okay, that's.
Yeah.
that.
Not Abby. Wait,
Abby's a band director.
yeah.
It's
So
Lauren.
it's
that's
Lauren
Missy-
Williamson.
Missy Grant
Zach
told me
rented
that.
their
Missy
facility
from-
until
Missy from our
COVID,
church
Gotcha.
talked to her.
Oh,
and then he went online.
Hmm.
Because the difference in between what Zach does and what you do
Uh-huh.
is you have a program which has a begin and an end time,
Hmm.
and therefore you can get insurance reimbursement and the
Yeah.
like.
And his
He
is more
doesn't.
of the
His is-
follow through.
Because he believes that you should exercise every day.
Yeah.
And so his is an everyday exercise workout
Mhm.
program. And
3 days a
we
week.
work very closely with UT. I don't know if you do anything with Cole Neuroscience Center.
I've got a couple of connections we're working on, but we're also very new in this area and just starting to like present some of the programs that we're offering.
Uh,
So I think we'll get there. We were hoping to do more, but then COVID kind of slowed a bunch
we
of
can
things
help
down.
you get there.
That's where our doctor.
That would be
We
fantastic.
work with the Parkinson's
Mhm.
Foundation out of Vanderbilt,
Hmm.
and they are establishing offices here in Knoxville.
Nice.
We have our first fundraiser
Oh, when
next
is it?
Saturday.
Oh, we need to
Next
write this
Saturday
down.
at Imes. It's a drive-through.
Do I have your contact information?
I think they called it Jim, the first annual East Tennessee.
Do you have him registered?
I have no idea. Movement, yes. Moving day. But I can see you need to be there at that. You get a chance to meet everybody.
Feel free to text me.
The doctors from UT will be there.
She's the one that knows
They
everybody.
told me they'll be there on Saturday.
What was his name?
Thank you so much. You've been full of some fantastic information. And how did you hear about the workshop today?
One of those annoying Facebook ad pop-ups, which my wife saw
Um,
and said, you should take a look at that. And I looked at it, and I've tried everything you can think of in the movement side.
mhm.
Do you know Jenny Daniels
The name sounds
In-
familiar.
in Oak Ridge?
Where is she working?
She's at I don't remember the letters, assisted living facility there.
Oh, not Morning Point.
We're trying to get those.
I'll have to go and look it up.
It's letters.
Yeah.
It's hard when you're still fairly new to
NHC?
Anyway,
have it. but
Yes.
we've got
Okay.
people like her and Danny and Courtney and Bill.
Anyway, she
It's-
does
they're the best
program
credentials
that's
clinic in the
called
region.
Loud,
Yep.
Getting-
Mhm.
And with that being one of
which
our
I've been
folks,
to
the equipment we
twice.
have, no one
Good.
else has this type of
And
stuff.
so she's helped quite a few people there. We've had people go through Big and Loud,
Mhm.
and it's a good program.
Joan, Charlie, it was lovely to meet both of you. If we can be of any service, please let us know.
Appreciate it.
Be careful in the rain. Would you like an umbrella?
He's already got an ice cream sundae with him.
Oh.
When I went to UT, I always look forward to a rainy day
Mhm.
because you got a new umbrella.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, you dump them at Ayers Hall outside. on the fire street, And you come and get you one out of the pile.
I've got paddles for you.
Okay.
And
I've got
Jason's
some for
car?
you too. So Jason said.
So the EMS thing,
I got you some shoes.
Oh, I was gonna ask you if you had a few minutes.
He's got a booth.
You know,
okay.
take them, try them out. If you don't want them, just
Okay.
put them, you know, I'll take them back.
Give you
And I got a top for you to throw on too. If you don't want that, well, I'm not gonna
This
take
is
that
super
back. I'll
cute.
keep it. Oh, this is one of my,
Look at you. Were you at Van Heusen?
I did not shop at Van Heusen.
Mm.
I went to, Marshalls and Hamilton.
Oh, are those your umbrellas? Okay, good.
To take Jonathan his, so if they don't fit or whatever.
Mhm. Gotcha. Here, let me turn this off real quick and I'll be right back up.